Hey Rina, Ryan here. I want to do your website critique and SEO critique at the same time. I'll try to make this a kind of a short video, so it's not going to get too heavy on you. So this is the first time I'm looking at your site because I want these critiques to be as realistic and first impressionable, quote unquote, as possible. So I mean, first off, it's the site. It looks nice, but it looks a little cluttered. It seems like there's a lot kind of going on here in the middle. And the sides are a little bland. I think if you were to extend out the content here and make the images bigger, I think that would really help bring things down, or help not make them really feel cluttered, but make them feel give it a more open feel to it. Sites are most sites are big when it comes to content areas. So we take a look to see what you got down here. Rockford County serving. Okay, so obviously you're doing this for SEO reasons. Not exactly the best way to do it. I know some photographers still do it, and I know that it works. But when it comes to when you know what I know, you want to think ahead of the game. So right now it works, but by tomorrow it may not. Realistically, probably in 6 months, to be honest. So it's something like that you want to definitely take off and just use this for contact information. Actually, your name, your business address, and your business phone number. There are much better ways to utilize this area versus just for SEO purposes. So let's take a look at just for fun. One thing too, maybe even the links up here. I mean, I can see them, but they blend in a little bit. Maybe that's just personal preference, so maybe I'll just shut up about that. But we'll take a look at, actually, and even too here, if you're going to have information down here, because these do draw my attention quite well, you may want to actually lead clients to where you want them to go. So obviously take them to your portfolio, take them to session details and or pricing. And then take them to a contact page of some sort, or even your about page, and then from there take them to a contact page here. So that's actually how I do things quite frequently. Is from left to right, I will try my best to lead a potential client on the site to where I want them to go. I want them to take a look at the work I've done or information about what services I offer first. A little bit about me, or take them to my about page, and then take them to my pricing page, and then take them to my contact page from there. So, yeah. So let me take a look at. Sorry about that. My phone dinged at me, so I want to make sure it wasn't an emergency or anything like that. Not that I have one, but you never know. Anyway, so portfolio, newborns, babies, children, upsharing. That's a new one. Let's take a look at that one, shall we? Okay. So first off, I'm assuming you have a pro photo blog, just because of how this is down here, and I've dealt with them quite a bit. Stay away from pro photo. They have a very outdated system. In fact, I would highly recommend switching off of them as soon as you possibly can. Excuse me. Just because of how they design their sites are so outdated. It's not very good with a lot of the newer themes out there within WordPress. They're quick, they're fast, and you can do a lot of similar things that ProPhoto has. Just have to find a plugin for it. But anyway, so back to here. So the first thing that I see is just a bunch of photos. It's very cluttered, especially seeing this over here. Signing up for a newsletter. Seems a little out of place, especially with the colors and visually. And from a marketing standpoint, if you're not doing a newsletter, or if you don't have, I would say, at least 200 subscribers, don't even bother doing this. Just because it's an added step in your process, and it's taking up valuable real estate on your website too. So same thing with the categories. Usually something like this isn't something that I agree with, just because it's again valuable real estate being used up, and also too, you have an error on your site. Probably not a good thing to have. So I mean, generally speaking, I'm not big on sidebars, depending on how useful they are. If the content area was wider, I'd be a little more I guess for lack of better terms, lenient on having the sidebar there, but I think right now it's actually hurting you versus helping you. So let's take a look at some of the images here. Excuse me. That's kind of cool. I like that jacket. So go through the site here real quick. There's some of the images. Okay. And this is one of the things that I don't like about ProPhoto either, is that their built-in galleries or built-in photo galleries that they have are a little sluggish. There is a plugin called Revolution Slider that I use. You have to pay for it to use it, unfortunately, but it's very, very geeky on the back end. Very, very geeky. A lot of options, and if you don't know what you're doing, you get lost very, very easily. But it's super lightweight on the front end. Images load very, very nicely. A lot of animations. Going from one image to the next is very smooth. So yeah, but yeah, my animosity towards ProPhoto has grown over the past few months. So, all right, so let's take a look. So let's take a look at the About Me section here real quick. Okay, so getting a little personal. You're getting that mommy moment right off the beginning. I like it. Okay, so seems to me like what you're doing here, Rina, is you're connecting with potential clients, which is good. But for me though, especially since I've seen so much of the same stuff, is you have to get images of your babies because they grow so fast. Or my favorite one is the fact that that the photographer loves being a photographer, which is usually women. Not trying to be offensive or trying to be sexist, but it's the truth. You want to make your about section about who you are and what you do as a business, not just you as a person. It's okay to add those personal elements on the page, just don't make it all about you. What do you bring to the table for a potential client? Well, you have products available that clients can order through you to make them stand out in their home. You have the skills and techniques to really bring out the beauty in every child and bring out the innocence of every child. You can use it, by the way, if you want. So make the about section not only just about you, but what you do and how you do it as a business as well. So the length is good. I do like the length. Excuse me. Again with the SEO thing down here, it's similar to the front page. You don't want to add it on there unless it's there are many ways to add these other locations on here, but it takes a little bit of tinkering and a little bit of knowledge ahead of time before that gets taken care of. So categories, I wouldn't even bother having this on here. I know some photographers are so adamant about having it on here, but again, taking up a valuable real estate, and I'm sure if you were to take a look at your analytics, you would not see many people clicking these particular links. There is a way within Google Analytics, as long as you have it installed and set up for your site, that will tell you what percentage of people are actually clicking on this or clicking on these links. In my experience, it's been less than 1%. Actually, it's been even less than 0.5%. I've actually seen it to where it says 0% of clicks, of total clicks, and even though it was 1, it's still registered, but it was so low that it registered as 0%. So I would just take this out. It's taking up real estate on your navigation up here for other things. So yeah, take your contact page here real quick. Okay, this is another thing too that a lot of photographers don't know who use ProPhoto. Google cannot see your contact form or your contact page for that matter, because of how ProPhoto does it. It looks cool having it slide down, don't get me wrong, but in terms of user experience, if I click on contact, I want to see, I'm expecting to see a new page to load, not just have it slide down. With how ProPhoto does this, Google can't see this. It's actually considered a broken link, which can hurt you SEO-wise. So what you really want to do is have this be a separate page and have this link go to that page versus having this slide down, basically. But then on that page, you want to have your business name, your business address, and your business phone number. Now, I understand, too, that your address and phone number may be your personal address and phone number, but you have to remember Google's seeing your site as a business, not as a person. If you were a person, Google would understand that maybe you're not actually a real business or need to have a contact form on your site, and you just want to show off your work. And that most of the time that's going to be highlighted onto a personal site or personal blog. But since you are a business, they want to see that information, and especially when you with your directory listings within Google and Bing and Yelp and Foursquare and whatnot. You need to have your address, at least enter your address in there, and then you can hide it later once everything's taken care of. So that's something you'll have to add, especially in the footer of your website. Google does take a look at the footer more versus the contact page when it comes to tying what information they have on their systems along with what they found out there tied to your site. Excuse me. And one thing too, I would highly recommend getting rid of the Yahoo email. It doesn't look professional, and I know a few people, not acquaintances, people I've met out in public who mentioned that they have they've got a Gmail account or one of those Hotmail emails, and they kind of have this look like, are you not professional enough to use an email tied to your business? And plus, for one thing too, in case if you do, if someone does email you directly without, maybe you met someone out in public or whatever, you say, oh, it's info@ rhinasphotography.com. The brand is already there. You've got the information. They won't forget who you are. But if you do it as a Yahoo or a Gmail, or even Gmail or Hotmail, let's say, then it could get confusing. You may not get the information. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend getting an actual domain-specific email. So, okay, so overall site-wise, just drop ProPhoto. that's all I can really say. There are other options out there that have a lot of the features that ProPhoto has, with updated themes, updated code, updated techniques, so on and so forth. So, if it's something that interests you, I can help you with that, or I can even give you a list of other themes that are out there that are photographer centric. So, okay, let's take a look at the actual SEO here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to check to make sure that Google can actually crawl your site, or is crawling your site, which they are, which is good. Okay, so you got the blog. Oh, just take a look at your blog. That's right. We'll spend a little bit of time on that here real quick. Okay, this is where I get to do a bit of griping. What you're doing here is a little. You're overdoing it. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. You're overdoing it when it comes, SEO wise. As you are, you're highlighting this bar mitzvah, or pre-bar mitzvah, excuse me, portraits here, and of course, it's showing a example of what it looked like in the living room. There's really this doesn't tell me, it doesn't grab my attention. It doesn't tell me that I need to take a look at these photos for anything. Google's become big on content, especially now since they have something called RankBrain, which is literally artificial intelligence. It learns how people interact with Google and learns new words. So having high quality content is very, very, very important. In fact, RankBrain's been around for about a year now, give or take. Google doesn't tell you exactly when new stuff comes out. They just say, "Hey, we got this thing." When they publicly release it, that's the absolute latest that we know it's been around. but you know, you may want to change it to something like, you know, G family pre-bar mitzvah photos, you know, in Muncie, New York, you know, or something like that. You could even do, if you want to get clickbaity, you could even say something to the effect of, watch this, or see this young man, or see this young boy turn into a man, or something similar. That sounds really bad, but it's you want to make it clickbaity to have people, if you want them to view it. Excuse me. I promise I have not been drinking. So, but yeah, this is a no-no in the SEO world. As for duration, minimum 300 words. That's what I found to be the best. Anything below that, even 299, don't even bother. 300 minimum is the word count that you want. So I know it may seem difficult, but there are ways to do it. Let's take a look at your images. Make sure that you are. It'll tell me. Okay, so it looks like what you're doing is you're labeling them for kind of a graphic design way of doing things. I used to work for a marketing agency in my town, a real small one. They mainly did auto repair and HVAC, and this is how the graphic designers, or a similar way, would file name would file name PDFs and graphics for mailings and so on and so forth. Pertaining to SEO, you want to include keywords. So in this particular case, you want to include keywords but make it sound organizational on the business side. And here's what I mean. Instead of saying bar mitzvah dash photography dash in, or bar mitzvah photography in Muncie, New York -1 -2 -3, so on and so forth, what you could say is G family bar mitzvah photos, Muncie, New York -1 2 3 4. It seems long, and it kind of is, but it also makes it seem a little more natural on the business side of things, because I mean, I'm sure you travel to other cities wherever the job is at, basically, right? So it's the same concept here. You want to have, if you're trying to organize how your photos are done. So, excuse me. Anyway, so let's go back to a lot of the offsite stuff. So, Google is crawling your site, which is good to see. Title lines definitely need to see some improvement there. You do want to include your main location and the style of photography that you want to be found for, whether it's what you want to focus on or what you want to be found more for. So let's say if you do more newborns throughout the year than, let's say, seniors, and you want to focus on seniors, you'd want to include seniors or senior photography, senior photos somewhere within the title line. Page description as well. You definitely want to make it unique, especially here. You know, kind of highlight who you are, what you do, and where you're located. That's kind of my MO for doing the homepage. Page descriptions is what it's for. So you get personal, professional headshots. So, I mean, you know, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you have the typical issues when it comes to doing SEO, which is the title lines and the page descriptions. Let's take a look at your. Which, by the way, did I find out where you're from? I don't think I ever did. Officially, anyway. Okay, so let's go back. We'll do a little bit of reverse searching here. 917 area code. Okay then. Well, we have. I used to have a client in New York, and I actually had a lot of success. Getting their site SEO'd. Unfortunately, something happened, and they just weren't getting any more business, and nothing I was doing. All the numbers were still going up, but for whatever reason, just they weren't getting the calls. The phone wasn't ringing. So, okay, let's take a look at, see how your directory listings are going here. Okay. Rina's photography. Rina Schiffman Photography. There we go. Okay. Okay, so the only directory that you're on is Google, which is better than where you could be. Which is, like, let me phrase that. I'm glad to see you on Google. That's one of the most important ones. But you also want to be on Facebook, Yelp, Foursquare, and Bing as well. Those are kind of so Google and the four I just mentioned are the top 5 that I put any of my clients on, because those are the main ones that people use. The other ones, such as like super pages and city search and insider pages and best of the web, those they eventually kind of fill in on their own. Same thing with yellow pages too. But Bing, Facebook, Yelp, Foursquare, and Google, I think I've said the one. The 5 that I've mentioned previously, sorry. Those you want to set in stone for sure, because all the other ones will pull information from Google and whatnot. So so definitely you want to have your local directories taken care of. Now we're going to take a look at some of your backlinks here. Now your backlinks are going to be fine. Okay, well, let's try that one again, shall we? Thought that was the URL. There we go. The backlinks have actually become more important again, which is surprising, considering that all the research done said that backlinks weren't as important, but now they are. So yeah, it's interesting how fast Google changes things. You just gotta keep up on it. So it looks like you actually have 750 backlinks to your site, which is really, really good. Unfortunately, this particular tool isn't as well, or doesn't work as good as the Google Search Console, which has your backlinks and everything else already. At least how many you actually have and where they're coming from doesn't give you that doesn't let you know with their quality backlinks. But this tool isn't as powerful as the Google Search Console, just because it is a third-party one, but it's still widely used within the SEO community. And it's made by a company that kind of specializes in SEO tools for SEO professionals. But 750 total backlinks, which is good to see. Hopefully that will those aren't all bad, and they're actually quite good. So now let's take a look at. It's just fun. Let's do newborn photographer in New York. I suppose it can give you the whole state. No, it doesn't. Okay, so we want to find you. Not on page 1. Or on page 2. Page 3. Or 4. Or 5. Okay. And part of the reason why you're not on any of the pages is because of mainly the title lines. If you were to include newborn photography in the title lines, page description, and even more frequently on your website, you'd show up somewhere, usually on between the first 5 pages. Let's take a look at, let's see, bar. New York Mitzvah Photography. That's not you, so that's just okay. But we can at least get that recent blog post you did. Okay, nothing said on page 5. What else? What other styles that you do? We'll do family. Family photographer. Oh, we're gonna change it up here a little bit. New York City family photographer. Oh, we'll do photography. We're gonna get risky. Alright, not on page 1. Not on page 2. Or 3. Or 4. Or 5. So it looks to me like you fall within that the the typical SEO issues that I see, you know, title lines and the page descriptions and the content and so on and so forth, yada yada yada. So, you know, overall, I would say, kind of at this point, kind of doing an entire refresh, get a much cleaner theme. I guess not, let me phrase that, a much more updated theme for your site, since Profoto is very outdated. Like I said, there are other themes out there that do just as many things as Profoto does, but much easier, much nicer, much cleaner, much faster, much everything. And obviously, you know, your SEO definitely needs, you just need to do it. It just has to, you know, throw it in there. So, excuse me. That can be a conversation if you want to have with me. We can definitely have a discussion about that. To get you up and going, I would really recommend, no matter what you do, have someone, have an SEO professional actually SEO your website, just because of how things are nowadays. I've become a firm believer in having a professional SEO site, or at least having an SEO professional look at your site at least once a year, just to make sure everything's still aligned with all the current trends and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I would just say overall, Rina, is just to, hopefully I'm not saying your name wrong. It's been 26 minutes. I'm probably saying it wrong the entire time. But anyway, just, you know, kind of overall, kind of just a whole refresh of everything, to be honest, would be your best bet. And then, you know, do the refresh, and you can add in a lot of the much more common marketing details, such as like a call to action button to take someone to a lead generation form, to you know, in, let's say, for example, in exchange, you might offer a free newborn guide of some sort in exchange for their contact information, so that you have that on hand. So, but yeah, if that's the discussion you want to have, Rina, by all means, go ahead and get a hold of me, and we can, you know, figure out the best plan of action for you. So, you know, hopefully you took away some advice from this, got some ideas from it. Otherwise, if it's over your head, don't hesitate to get in touch with me. So, I want to thank you for letting me critique your site and look at your SEO, and hopefully I didn't bore you too much. So, all right, thanks a lot, Rina. We'll talk to you later.